Lois Kramer-Perez, Queen of the Shui, or Shui. The Shui, Queen of the Shui. I love that. Everyone has read that function. Yes, the Queen of the Shui, right? She's the go-to expert when you're ready to receive passionate relationships, a peaceful home, and a life you love. Inspiring you to seek and create new opportunities in your life, she puts her 10-plus years of Feng Shui energy healing to work to put you in the driver's seat with yourself, your relationships, and your space. Her popular programs offer tools to manifest sustainable change in your life. She's a certified practitioner of Feng Shui, Hypnosis, past life regression, NLP, and energy clearing. Lois manages these methods to create a unique program for sustainable change. So, happy to introduce Lois Perez to you. Thank you, Lois.
I'm excited to be here. And the reason I decided to call myself the Queen of Shui is because I'm not going to take myself too seriously to begin with. And I just love doing what I do. So we all should be the king or queen of our lives. And when you do what you love, life is even better. So who was here last week for Ken's presentation on synchronicity? The perfect segue into my opening of the presentation. So my husband passed away very suddenly in the year 2000. And my search for healing, the grief, the unexplainable, set me on a path that I never expected I would take. First, I stumbled into a Reiki studio and I started getting some Reiki, and that felt so good. I became a Reiki master practitioner. Not healing anybody. Then she talked about Feng Shui. I go, oh, what is this? Oh, I need some Feng Shui. So I found a teacher and I signed up for a year program just like that. Didn't know what I wasn't going to Feng Shui anybody. However, all of these things started to change my life into the way I lived. The energy clearing was part of it, and everything is energy. And when we talk about synchronicity, as Ken shared with us, it's always around. When you look to see what is happening and what is synchronistic, it gives you that affirmation, yes, I'm on the right path. So here I am, about to study Feng Shui, and my teacher says, next week, we're going to talk about the I Ching. And I thought, oh, what is this? How do you spell that? I wrote it down. So then I went home, and as I would go in my late husband's office, I would walk around the house, opening drawers, looking on bookshelves all the time. I didn't know if I thought he was going to come out, say, hi, I'm not still here. But anyway, that's just one of the things I did. And I found this book on the shelf, the illustrated I Ching. And I got chills. I said, Ray, how did you know I would need this book? I didn't even know what this book was. And here it was waiting for me. So that was just the first step of saying, yes, I'm on the right track. And things just continued along the way. So think about where you're going, what you're doing, because everything is energy. And when you seek what you love, it's going to be right there in front of you. So you don't want to miss that opportunity. And what I want to share with you about the I Ching tonight is not only how do we look at these ancient writings, because originally they were used for military maneuvers, and some of the language may be quite unusual for what our daily speak is. But understanding where it came from and how it got today, and how it's related to Feng Shui and where all Feng Shui came from, and all the energy, I love to show the synchronicities and the connections. Because by the time I get through part of this presentation, you're going to see, gee, I can see 3 lines, and from those 3 lines, I will know, that's the Northwest. That's the energy of metal. That's Father's energy. Oh, that's leadership. That's honesty. That's integrity. There are so many different things we can look at. The season of autumn, the time of evening. 3 little lines, I can write a book. And what I found, the more I studied along the way, and I've been studying since 2003, and I haven't stopped. I'm still on my journey because there's always more to learn. I start to see different connections and how things are connected. And what I want you all to do is to have an experience tonight playing with throwing coins and interpreting the I Ching in different ways. So I have lots of books spread around. Everyone, I'd like to have a chance to play with, look at one of the books when we get to that. Here's an example of some of the 3 books. These were some of the very first books that I started studying with, but I just kept buying them because every time there's another book, there's another way to experience it. And you might find if you practice with the I Ching, there may be one book that you resonate with now, but there may be another book that you will resonate with later. So my attention goes in different ways. Well, how did this all get started, the I Ching? Well, the I Ching actually translates to the Book of Changes. And it's really giving us a look into the relationship of the behavior of humans and the constantly ever-changing universe. So this is all about the ever-changing universe. This is not something that is stagnant. It's ever-changing. And how the story I love to hear about, how the I Ching and Feng Shui all came about, was there's a story that in the Xia dynasty in 2100 to 16 BC, the Bagua of the early heaven sequence, or the sacred, was formed. And they say there was a scholar, Fu Si, who actually saw a tortoise come out of the water and had these markings on his back that had different meanings. And from those markings, this is how we know how the Bagua is related today. So everything is starting, everything that's connected is connected with each other. So when we look at how this all began and came to be, we call this the Fu Si's early heaven sequence. We have the heaven on the top and earth on the bottom. And this pattern is arranged in a counterclockwise area, where they have the most yang on the top, the most yin on the bottom. And when we look at the opposites, because the opposites of the numbers, of the positions, they all add up to the number 9. So there's a lot of mathematical combinations and things that go on behind this. So it's just more than just someone putting numbers. There's a lot of thought behind it. So know that there's a lot of good stuff behind this. It didn't just come, somebody wrote the numbers. And in this, what we call the early heaven sequence of this Bagua, the numbers only relate to the position. So as the numbers go from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, as they go around the circle, that's just to indicate the position. But in the Bagua that we will refer to today, where I will connect the numbers to the trigrams, we can see that here, fire is on the top, that's the number 9. Water's on the bottom, and that's the number 1. So in the Bagua, as it has evolved into the way we use it today, they're not sequential in the positions, but they have information. But whatever the information is, if I look at mountain over here, when I look at mountain over there, they are the same qualities. We still will refer to this early heaven sequence when we are looking at sacred sites, maybe in graveyards or sacred spaces or sacred churches, where it's just about the energy of the spirit and man is not involved. This Bagua that we'll be talking about qualities of today, that's where man has come into play. So we start off with the universe. When everything starts, we call the Wu Ji. And this is how life began. And then we come into the yin and yang. Everyone's familiar with the yin and yang, right? So the yin is the quiet energy, the yang is the active. And we can't have one without the other because you'll see in my yang energy I have a yin, and with my yin I have a yang. Everything is connected. So when we look to see the balance of energy, whether it's in Feng Shui, whether it's in meditation, whether it's in life, we're always looking to find the qualities that are connecting us to our correct balance. Because balance, again, is not something static. It's fluid. It's how we relate to things as they're coming. And now we bring in the yang force, which is the center. So this is the central force that is bringing us into harmony. And finally, we come to how these lines are connected. When they say one gives life to two. So when we look at the qualities of these lines, yin is a broken line. And 2 is an even number. Therefore, all the numbers that are 2 or even will be yin. And then we look at the solid line of yang. And since 1 is an odd number, all the lines that are odd numbers will be yang. So this will be a pattern you'll see when we start to look at the coins and throw the coins, and you'll have a relationship to why some are yin and some are yang. And now we're bringing human life into this. So this is called the three treasures, or the Feng Shui. So heaven is our spirit, the sky, which is mental, that's the top line. The center line is the human. They call that the Ren, the Qi, or the house, our emotional line. And then the bottom line is earth, the I Ching, the landscape, or the physical. And as we get into exploring the messages of the I Ching, when you look at the hexagram and the writing, say I have numbers 52. There'll be a little summary, and then I'll go into depth about the quality. And then some of the translations will go line by line by line. If the first line is a yang, the next line is yin, and the way the sequences are give you an even deeper translation. So it's interesting to see now we have everyone is connected, heaven, man, and earth. And that is how we're going to be working with these today. So now, when we look at these trigrams, or gua, when we put two of them together, we get a hexagram. So this will actually be, I have earth over earth below heaven, heaven and earth, and I can actually look that up and see what is the translation for the meaning of that. So everything will be a combination of three lines. I have my trigram and together with my hexagram, and that is what we're going to find when we throw the coins, the message or the answer to our question. Okay. So again, another way to just give you a short example of how everything is so mathematical. So we had the Wu Ji, we have one gives life to two, yang and yin, and from these two positions, all of these other combinations were formed. So everything again goes back to math. But I'm not a mathematician. I just want to go find out what does this all mean and how do I work with them. So again, we have the early heaven, Fu Si, and the later heaven from King Wen that we talk about that we're going to play with tonight. And one more little bit of history. When did King Wen? Okay, so the next important period was the Han Dynasty, or they called it the Golden Period. And that was 206 BC to 220 AD. Then the Tang Dynasty and the Song Dynasty, and that's where we started to evolve the different positions and the way we use the Bagua of today. Okay? So traditionally, the Bagua of today is shown in this form. And again, if you don't know what any of these words are, you can just look at the qualities of the combinations, the positions of the yin and the yang, and you will know exactly what that means. You will be able to see how these three lines, heaven, it's metal, it's heaven's energy, all the things we're going to talk about that are with these qualities, and then what happens when they start coming together. And this is the Bagua we use in Feng Shui. So if you've had a Feng Shui consultation or you want to do some Feng Shui for your house, you're going to look at the qualities of your space and pay attention. So what's happening in the Southwest? Okay, that's my relationship area. Oh, gee, I have a shed in the back and I've neglected it. It's falling apart. There are birds living in there and it's all decay. And then I look at my relationship that I've been neglecting a relationship, and I see a correlation. And there are two ways that we do use the Bagua. There is what we call the three-door Bagua, where we just use the numbers from the front door. And there's also the classical, or the way we use the directions. So whichever way, whichever school that you are part of, it's all correct. It's just how you are resonating and connecting. But for these purposes, so again, this would show you when we do the three-door Bagua. You would just lay this over, and wherever the door is, you'd either be coming in through the heaven's energy, through the water energy, or the earth energy. So again, depending on your style or how you've been aligned with, both of them are correct. But the qualities, whenever I talk about a 7 metal, whenever I talk about a 2 earth, however I use them, whether with the direction or with the position, the qualities will always remain the same. And that's the beauty of Feng Shui, the beauty of the I Ching. As you begin to understand the elements and the qualities and the combinations of such, then everything you see layers one to the other. So let's take a look at these trigrams. So here I have the gua is number 1, so this is related to number 1. And we have a yin, a yang, and a yin. That is the trigram symbol. And the Chinese name for this is kan, and this is water. The life path for this gua is our life journey, our career. How is your life moving? So we're more than just the work we do, it's how we're moving through our life. When we look at the direction, it's north. The element is actually water. And the family member is the middle sun. And why do I have to know about this? Well, as I'm looking at the I Ching, and I'm looking at the relationship of the different trigrams, and I see I have water, who's the middle sun, he's the peacemaker. The middle sun is the one who's the mediator, who can see all signs of a situation. So it will be interesting to see, in addition to the translations, how do these different family member archetype qualities relate to each other? You know, the peacemaker versus the leader, you know, how are they going to react together? How are they going to be in combination? So everything has all of these qualities. The body parts, again, these different elements are connected with body parts, kidneys, ears, and bladder. And the colors for this gua, for water, are blue and black. And the reason they're blue and black is because blue, like the oceans and the waters, however, black is the abyss. Another relationship we look at to this gua of water is the abyss. You can look down a well, and it goes down forever. And what is it? It's black. So there's a reason for everything, the way it is connected with all of these different qualities. So how are we doing so far? Following along okay? All right, so do any of you have any Feng Shui connection? I know some of my peeps here understand Feng Shui, and they do, but if you haven't, or if you have, please, I want to hear questions. I would love to hear your observations as we go along. Okay, next, we come to number 8. This is the Chinese name of Ken. This is the mountain, our life path, self-development, education, spirituality. So this is the gua connected to giving myself the opportunity to be the best I can be, and how I would develop my spirituality through education, through knowledge, and continuing to explore. The direction is the northeast. The element is earth. Earth is a solid element. The earth is one we stand on. The special quality about this earth, this 8 earth, is it's connected to the mountain. Think about, how can I move a mountain? If the mountain is here, am I going to easily sway the mountain? Am I going to easily have the mountain make an easy decision? There's going to be a lot to that mountain. However, this mountain also brings us abundant potential. So it's a quality of the heavy mountain strength. There is a very soft spot inside, and abundant potential, the youngest son, who is experiential. And what does that mean, experiential? This gua represents living a life through experience, not reading a book and knowing it, but actually doing it. And there are some of us that learn through reading and listening to things, and we get it. There are others that just have to do it. Just let me do it, and then I'll get it. And when you experience things, as this gua, the 8, it may feel as if it's the route that's taking you up 100 steps. But guess what? When you get to the top, you've got it. It's yours. It's there. So there's a reason and a quality that is an opportunity for every expression of these trigrams. And again, it'll be interesting to see if I have a mountain, but if below the mountain, if I have the tree element or the wood element, could those roots be, shaking up my mountain? So we're going to start to see a relationship to these different qualities. We have the hands, fingers, and spine are connected to this gua. And for this particular earth, in addition to all the skin tone qualities, and you could think of the pale sands, to the chocolates, and the ochres, and the terracottas, we also have the color blue that brings the spirituality into this quality. Next, we have 3, and the Chinese name is Chen. And this is our life path of family and new beginnings. And it's connected with the energy of thunder. It's that boom. So do you know that boom when it blows and it goes? Do you know a person who is like that, who doesn't have a lot of patience? They blow and they go boom, and then And then it's over. And then you got a water person over there. Oh, why'd you say that to me? What are you talking about? That was like 10 minutes ago. No, it was just now. It feels like So again, relationship between people, their energy, and the basis for all of these things that we're looking at. And this life path is called wood traditionally, but one of my teachers, John Sandifer, he referred to this as a tree rather than wood. And I like that relationship to this energy because it's alive. This energy connected to this three is alive. Trees grow, you plant the seeds, and they grow, they're alive. So that's where the new beginnings come in. Family tree, that's how the family is connected to this. And the family member archetype for this three tree or three wood is the eldest son. And we look at him as the scout. He's the one that takes a risk, he'll do it first, and he'll lead the way for all the rest, because he's the eldest son. He doesn't have a lot of patience, so he's just going to go for it. And this quality is also the risk takers, the bungee jumpers, jumping out of planes. So again, you can see how these translate into relationships of information. But people, everything that is part of these I Ching is in the person, it's in the space, it's in the nature. It's in this three also connects to the time of early morning, the time of spring, new beginning. So understanding these connections really gives you a different perspective on, gee, when these two come together, what am I feeling? Now we come to Gua number 4. The Chinese name is Sun, or Xun in the classical way. And this life path is fortunate blessings. In some books you may read it's the prosperity area. But I like to look at it as fortunate blessings. And another one of my teachers, William Spear, I was so entranced with his explanation of some of these guas. He talked about fortunate blessings. What is the most important thing you could have in your life? What is the highest value? Time. And time is relative. So when you give your time away with compassion, you get it back 1,000 times over. And that's the basis of fortunate blessings. And that reminds me of the story of the three-legged frog. So there are people that in Feng Shui, they have all these things that, I got to get a three-legged frog and put him over here. Put him over there. Why? I don't know. They told me. Well, if someone asks you to get a three-legged frog, say why and where should I put it? And what does it mean? And my favorite story about the three-legged frog is there was a farmer walking down the road, minding his own business, and he happened to pass a well and he heard, help me, help me. And he looked down and there was a frog and he couldn't get out because he only had 3 legs. So he put the bucket down and let the frog come up and off he went. Well, the next day the farmer woke up, he had gold coins under his pillow. Okay. And then the next day again, he goes, what? Where are these coming from? So that was the folklore story of give without expectation and you will be rewarded in return. So that's why you'll see a frog with a coin in his mouth standing on a bunch of coins. So if that coin reminds you, if that frog reminds you to give without expectation, to be compassionate, to know whatever I have, I want to be sure everyone has enough, and just trust. You'll always have what you need and then some. Put that frog where you can see it. If not, just know that that area is giving you the guidance of how you can create that life for yourself. So that's what I love about it. And here, again, it's another tree element, but it's not as booming as the thunderous. It's more like the wind, so it's a little more subtle. And the eldest daughter is the explorer. So the eldest son goes out and paves the way, and the eldest daughter starts hunting and looking for, what's another path I can take? What's something new? What can I do different? I'm always looking for something different. And like the wind can be swayed. Oh, I'm going over here. Oh, no, maybe I'll go over there. Oh, yeah, over here, over there. So we can go even into the deeper qualities of what this means in a person. So again, I love how these are all connected. The body parts, hip, bone, thighs, and breath. The colors are green and purple. Now, we talked about the color green in the Gua 3, new beginnings, earth, the trees coming from the earth. Green is because it's the life of the leaves and the grass when it sprouts. We added the color purple to this area because the quality of fortunate blessings is about wealth. And back in the days, thousands of years ago, only the very wealthy could afford the color purple because it took a very unique beetle that was very rare that only the kings and the higher people could afford. So that's how the color purple, and sometimes gold, would be related to this section. So we have many different layers, again, to the qualities of this information. And again, when we think of wind, blowing easily, we think of mountain, strong. We think of thunder, boom. So these will be other things to consider as we start looking at the qualities when we start throwing our coins. Now we have the Gua number 9, Li, which is fire. And our life path here is fame, recognition, reputation, self-esteem. This fire energy is your passions. This is a high, illuminating light. And when the fire is connected with one of the other trigrams, it shines a light on a situation that we can see all that's happening. This is the middle daughter. She's spontaneous. So think about fire. It's spontaneous. It's fun. It's exciting. It's transformational. When we talk about transformation in Feng Shui, fire is the one element that takes the nourishment from the trees and transforms it into ash to nourish the earth. So everything has a relationship. All of these trigrams relate to each other. Some are supportive. Some could actually be a little bit abrasive. And sometimes we need a little bit of boom to get things going. The body parts here are the eyes and the heart. And the colors are red, orange, and yellow. The colors of a flame. Passion, fun, bright, and shining. Next, we come to Gua number 2, and this is another earth element connected to mother, the name Kun, and relationships. Relationships, support, the ability to be a caretaker, the caring, comfort. And the family members, mother and sister, so this energy is all about being the foundation, being cared for, having a solid relationship. And the time that I looked at my shed that was falling apart in the Southwest was a year that my relationship fell apart with my sister and my mother. There was a whole thing going on in the family. And I saw I said, could this be true? You know, did one thing happen to the other? No, what it meant was it brought my attention to pay attention to a situation that I could now make a different choice about, that I wouldn't give up about. So very often the things that we see in our space connected to these different qualities get your attention so you can make a different decision and do something different. Okay, now we're moving to the Gua number 7, Dui. This is lake, joy, creativity, and children. It's the West. It's the element of metal. This is metal. We have 2 metals. They're very refined. This metal is the metal that is very much connected with empath, very much connected with feeling energy. So coming back to people, if somebody has this quality in their elemental nature, and you know someone that everything has to be just so, you know, they don't like any clutter, they don't like any of this, so they start to, don't say, oh, you're too sensitive. Oh, what do you mean? You're feeling things too much. Oh, get over it. No, get over it. This is a person. So again, understanding these qualities in people, we begin to understand each other better. So if you are highly sensitive, you're not some category of these highly sensitive people. You are unique with your gifts and celebrate that. So we have the youngest daughter who is ruled by the lake. So what does the youngest daughter quality of this family archetype bring us? Well, first of all, it brings us the ability to reflect, because the surface of the lake can always be beautiful, but what's happening underneath it might not be shown to others. So it's about learning to reflect from what's beneath. But also, the youngest daughter is sometimes misunderstood. They think, oh, she doesn't know anything, she's a little daughter. But the youngest daughter is smart, because she is learning from all that come ahead of her. So don't take her, don't take her for granted. She's got a lot going on. And the body parts are the mouth, teeth, the lungs, and skin. Lungs, metal, grief. That's another correlation to expression. Lungs and grief can be, if you're in heavy grief, you may have vulnerability with your lungs, respiratory issues. So again, there are different things 5-element acupuncturists may look at when they're looking at your body. They can tell by what is vulnerable, what is maybe blocked, how you may be experiencing things in your life, and how when they open up the meridians for everything to flow, it can help heal what might be happening beneath. Okay, so pastels, color white, very clean is how we look at the colors related to Dwi, lake joy, creativity. Next, we come to number 6. This is heaven's energy. So this is all the three solid lines, very yang. Heaven, authority, and we also talk about helpful people. This authority is about natural leadership, the one who just knows, the one that people just look up to. So there will be a relationship to this quality in the I Ching about the leadership role of the relationship of how they're combined. Father, brother, leader, the one who just steps up. Again, lungs, all metal has lungs, and nervous system and bone. The colors that we have for this are gold and bronze, all the metal colors, and again, 3 solid lines, heaven's energy, all yang. Where mother's energy, when we talked about 2, all dashed lines, the most yin. And together they create all of these wonderful things. So that's a little bit of explanation about how we may look at the different translations when we start throwing coins. Okay, so before we get into playtime, does anybody have any questions or any comments about things so far? So think of it this way. So we started out with the universe. That was this circle. Then, we had the Tai Chi, because now we're getting the balance of yin and yang. Okay? Oh, before that we had then came the center, bringing it all together. And from those, they said one becomes 2. So we had the solid yang and then the dash for yin. And then they mathematically broke out into these different patterns. And from the sequence that they had, where they were going in a position where they were assigned these different elements, that's how it all began. So when we look at, and at the end I'll see if I can get back to the Bagua, when we look at, there are 9 areas in the Bagua, because the center doesn't have a direction, but it is an earth element. So each of these different areas we have 3 types of earth, we have 2 types of metal, we have 2 types of trees, but we only have 1 water and 1 fire. And the qualities will vary, depending on the intensity. So if I had the 3 tree in my trigram, it would be a boom of thunder versus a combination with a 4 tree, which is more gentle, of the wind. And then we could see how that's relating to the other trigram that is sitting with. So when we understand qualities of boom, of flow, of sensitivity, of rigidity, metal is more rigid than water. So we can also start looking at, when we get deeper into the relationships of these elements, how we can, if something is too rigid, how we can soften it. If something is too stuck, how we could break it open, and how we can nourish something if it needs. So everything will have many more layers. But the important thing to know is everything is connected. So whether you know Feng Shui, I Ching, 9-star key, anybody here know 9-star key? Or, looking at birthdays and your 3 numbers, they're all connected, however you look at it. And the elements, the quality of the elements, if you look at the Batzi, or the 4 pillars, the quality of the animal that has that particular element will give him a unique way of being versus a water rat and a metal rat. And then we use the same mathematical combinations of the numbers when we do a system called flying stars. When we look at the energy of time and space. When I look at how the energy is moving in 2023 versus how it was last year. When we can assess a home with the flying star system, and how we can look at the direction the house is facing, when was the roof put on, and where do all the numbers fit? And are these combination of numbers supporting the people? Or are there some elements together that need to be quieted or calmed down, or opportunities for nourishment? But everything all goes back to the same basis. And so once you know what a 1 water is and what that quality is, wherever you see it, you're going to know what it is. So that's the beauty of the system. Okay? Excellent. Good question. Anybody else? We're good. Okay. So let's have some fun. Okay. So how we use the I Ching to look for guidance. So that's why I had everybody bring 3 coins. So a classic way that we look for guidance is, well, the first thing you want to do, you want to meditate and calm yourself down, get grounded, feel your feet on the floor. Charlie gave us a great opening for tonight. And the easiest way, even in the middle of any day or any chaotic day, you always have the power of your energy. You can always sit quietly, even with people talking around you. Feel your feet on the floor. A few breaths, could be subtle. And I like to think I'm always breathing in what's beneficial for me right now. Exhaling what is done. I don't have to know what it is. It knows what I need. I just let it go. I let it happen. So getting in a grounded space, it just takes 3 breaths. You'll bring your attention to that. And then you think about a question that you would like an answer to or a guidance. And then you're going to ask the question. And as you're asking the question, you're going to have the coins in your hand. You're going to throw what we call casting. You're going to throw them. Okay, so we're going to throw the coins. And when we throw the coins, we're going to see the formation of them. So we'll do some examples of that next. But the important thing is to understand the response to your question will be based on the vibration of the question. So remember that movie like Water for Chocolate? You know, she was, making it, they were putting all that stuff in there and, putting love in all the food, and everybody fell in love with the wrong people because it was just love everywhere. But it makes sense. So when you're working with energy, you want to have the right mindset. You don't want to feel like, this isn't going to work for me. Because guess what? It's not going to work for you. But if you trust, this is between me and my energy and my question, I am open to see what the guidance might be. And again, we can have everyone in the room have the same question, and everyone in the room can get the same throw, and everyone can have a different relationship to what that guidance is. Because only you know what makes sense to you. And what resonates with you is most important. I'm here to show you guidelines and to give you opportunities to explore. But I'm not the one that knows everything. Only you know what anything means to you. I'm just here to give you, like the menu to see, well, what do these all mean? Okay? So now when we talk about how we answer questions, they should all be open-ended, not yes or no. Oh, is this good, yes or no? That's like a non-question, all right? Vague questions will get vague answers, so we want to be specific. So example, what am I learning from this day? Or in the morning, you could say, if you like to do your guidance in the morning, what will this day bring? What is important for me to notice for this day? So when you get specific, when you see the message you get from the combination of the trigrams, something will get your attention. Something will click. And that will give you the basis for how you want to go about your day. Some other questions we have. Should I work with this client? Or should I take this job? Better yet, what will be the outcome if I work with this client? Or even, how can I best help this client? Or look for ways to get the best out of a situation. So we can get very creative with our question because we want to see how specific we can be and notice what the vibration coming from us will give us as that guidance. Okay, this is another, should I take this job? What will the outcome be if I take this job, if I take this position? What if I want to move? What will the outcome be if I move to this house? What will the outcome be if I stay where I am? So we want to look for guidance. And then the most important thing is when you get that information, how does that make you feel? What are you noticing in your body? What is grabbing your attention? Sometimes things that go, they get your attention. It's not that you like it or it's good or bad. It's just making sure you pay attention. So everything you feel is important. Subtle, strong, there's no good or bad, just is for the moment. And again, I always like to think of for right now, because what's happening for me right now is relative. If I want to know what's going to happen for me 6 years from now, well, that's another story. But most likely, we're interested in what's happening in the current moment. So I always like to add for right now, because that is present. And we know that energy changes. Everything, I could ask the same question a week from now, And it may be different based on where I've been, where I've gone, or things that have happened. Because we all have the free will to choose. And maybe my chart was sending me this way, but I took a left turn. And I went that way. So now I've shifted things. So we want to find opportunity wherever we go. So that is the basis for how we're going to start playing with the coins and asking questions and seeing how we interpret what the answers are. Okay? So, any questions before we get to the next step? Okay. So this is how we're going to do it. So we know that yin's a broken line, yang is a solid line. So we know about the even and odd numbers. And this will be when we use our classic coin method. When I throw coins, since I know that so I know that odd is yang and even is yin, depending on how the numbers add up, am I going to have either a yin or a yang or yin line? Well, 1 head and 2 tails will be a solid line. 1 and 2 is 3, right? Because a head is 1 and a tail is 2. Here, 1 tail and 2 heads, 2 and 2 is 4. That's going to be a broken line. So we'll have this chart to refer back to, knowing a head is always 1, tails are always 2, and just adding up the heads and tails. And now what happens if I have 3 tails, 3 heads, or 3 tails? We call that a changing line. So what we do is when we start constructing our hexagram from the bottom up, and we'll have examples in the next slide, if we get a changing line, you make a dot. Because guess what? You have 2 readings. So you build your hexagram and you see where the dots are. So if I know that as I build this was a changing line, I'm going to build another one next to it. And instead of going yin, yang, when I get to this one, yin becomes a yang, or yang becomes a yin. So that gives another depth to how we get an answer. So we can look at the answer to the question is, this is the present, that is the future. This is the action, this is the outcome. So it gives you 2 ways to look at it. Yes?
One head is 1, tails 4, 75.
No, 1 tail is 2. So tails are 2. Heads are yang.
Yeah. Third line.
Third line.
Okay. Okay. 1 head is 1, and 2 tails. No, there are only 3 coins. Oh. 1 heads and 2. Oh.
It would still be odd. Still be odd. It would still be odd. 5 instead of 3.
Oh, it was, okay, 5 instead of 3. Okay. Okay. Oh, my math. You got me nervous with the math. Did I do the wrong math again?
But it's still odd.
It's still odd. It's still odd. Okay, it's still odd. Whew. Got it. All right. Okay. All right. So everyone has some coins? All right. So I'm going to go through this quickly, and I think I have an example of how we're going to chart these. You're going to meditate on your question, and you shake the coins, and you throw them on a flat surface. So as you're shaking, you're going to throw the coins 6 times. First 3 will be the bottom, and the next 3. Okay? And we're going to build it from the bottom up. Okay, so just for practice 1, somebody throw 3 coins and tell me your combination. 2 heads and a tail. So I got 2 heads and 1 tail. That's going to be a broken line. So that's going to be my first line at the bottom. Okay, someone throw 3 heads, 3 heads. 3 heads, that means I have a yang. However, it's a changing line. So when I complete this, I'm going to build a second one. Okay, next, someone throw 3.
I have 3 tails.
3 tails. Okay, so we know that's yin, but it's a changing line. It's going to change to another one. All right, so that's the first trigram. Now we're going to build the second one.
3 tails.
3 tails, okay. Okay, next.
3 heads.
3 heads, okay. Okay, and the final?
1 head, tails.
1 head and 2 tails. So 1 head and 2 tails is yang. Okay, so this is my first hexagram. But now I have changing lines. So what am I going to do? I'm going to build a second one. So this one stays the same. Now this was yang, it becomes yin. Yeah. They go from the bottom up. You start at the bottom and you build up. So when we had 3 tails, I had 3 tails, that's a changing line. So that means I'm going to put a dot here so I remember that. Here we had 3 heads. So first we build this hexagram, and now I'm going to go back and see what the second message will be. So since this was yin and it's changing, it becomes yang. Since this was yin and it's changing, it becomes yang. This becomes yin, and this stays the same. Okay? So if you cast it and there were no changing lines, you don't get 3 heads or 3 tails, it is what it is, and that's it. So this will be the first message, and this will be the second. So now how do we figure out what this means? How do we read what this is? Okay, so here's a chart. So how do I figure out what this is? So here is a lower trigram. See, it's at the bottom. These first 3 lines. So I have the solid with 2 yins. So I find it says lower. So I look for, that's Kan, right? So I have Kan. And then what's the upper trigram? I look for the upper trigram, and I have 1 yin and 2 solids. So I have Kan, Sun. So I go from where Kan and Sun meet is number 59. So write down number 59. Okay, so now the second part, for the second hexagram, I started with, can you see, Bill, where I should be pointing?
1, 2, that one. It looks like Kan.
Looks like Kan? Down. Kan.
Oh, it's cat. It's
Okay.
Oh, it's 2 yins with a yan on top. Ken, the mountain, yes, the mountain's covered on top. Okay, Ken. And then the top one is?
Lee. Now, Lee.
Okay, so I go to Lee. Number 56. So that's the second question. The second message. Oh, 53. What did I say? 56. Okay, so if we had a question, so whoever has a book, there are books around, anyone that has a book, just find in the book number 59. So they're all sequentially, so this is my number 59. And this book by R.L. Wing is fairly simple. It gives a little summary and 1 reading. Some of the other books will actually give you a little headline, a big summary, and then it'll go line by line by line, how they relate to each other within the particular hexagram. So for this particular book, number 59 says, reuniting will bring progress. The ruler approaches the meeting place. It's advantageous to experience the collective flow. There's further advantage in correct persistence. So again, it's kind of like that military word. But what I like about how they give you the relationship, so it says, the wind moves above the profound water. So if this is water, and this is wind. So wind is above the water. So they say when wind moves above the water, it's the condition for reuniting. So the ancient rulers therefore establish a meeting plan as a sacrifice to the ultimate plan. So actually it's a reuniting. So you can look at that in terms of, modern times, reuniting, when the wind is coming to the water. And again, reading further down in some of these translations. So someone read a little title from another book. Oh, anyone have a book?
What, 59 or 56?
59.
The empowered person, the role of ego in creating barriers to people, and determines that he or she will set ego aside.
Okay, so reuniting. So if I look at that translation and this, reuniting, he said putting ego aside. This one said sacrifice and ultimate plan. So coming together, uniting. Now what is water? Water, we said, was the middle sun, the peacemaker. So the peacemaker now is coming here with the wind. So they're able to reunite, and the peacemaker will be able to see both sides, and they will come to an agreement. So that's another way we could look at the relationship of the archetype qualities and the elements. Okay? Religious forces are needed to overcome the egotism that divides men. Interesting. Interesting. So it's interesting how some of these messages can be very much relevant to different things. And we didn't ask a question for this. We're just seeing what the overall message is and how to interpret it. Okay, so let's look at number 56.
In an unfamiliar situation, the empowered person is confident enough to play the humble role of learner and observer.
Interesting. 56. Fire's on the mountain. So we have fire. We have the mountain. So fire and earth. So fire is illuminating the earth. So would you read that again, please?
Just lost it.
Oh, sorry, 56.
In unfamiliar situations, the empowered person is confident enough to play the humble role of learner and observer.
Interesting. So mountain, when I talked about the quality of the mountain, the youngest son, experiential, learning, it's also connected to spirituality and education. The observer, the learner. The fire is the light shining on the learning. Interesting. There are so many ways we can interpret these, literally, or looking at relationships of the elements or the qualities of the archetypes. This book says the illuminating fire is upon the tranquil mountain, forming the condition for traveling. An enlightened person is clear-minded and careful when imposing penalties, and he does not allow disputes to detain him. Okay. Clear-minded, light, and the mountain, careful, steady, youngest son, doing everything, experientially, and also standing up for beliefs of what's right in humanity. Does anyone else want to read number 56?
Okay, it says journeys, voyages, outside the social network, wander, exile, soldiers on a mission, quest, searcher, wandering, sea.
Interesting. Interesting. Any?
I guess what I take out of this is what book you buy is energetically for you.
That could be also. And maybe that's why I have, many of these books are mine. There are just 3 that aren't mine. That 3 that I'm going to be raffling one of. I buy all these books. Yeah, every time I take a class, the teacher would have another book, buy all these books. And then I would have one book in particular, and then I'd pick another one up and go, oh no, I like this better. And then I go on to another book. So again, it really is, sometimes the book picks you. Okay. All right. So one more, yes. Oh no, no. I just put, this was our first hexagram, that was our second. Just so I knew that was what we started, and that's what it became. So it went from here, here.
Like one moment,
Right. So this could be the present moment, this could be the future. This could be the action, this could be the outcome. So depending on your question, you might see, what 1 and 2 are relatable to. Okay?